Alright guys, so my plan was to install a Samsung 950 Pro M.2, and that gets installed here underneath this panel of the Formula 8. Let's see, now I lift it up and then it unsnaps, and right here is the M.2, and you can have M.2s as long as I think 110 mils, and there's a screw I guess in the cap. There's also this reflective piece here. I think it just sits there for some of the lighting. Anyway, this M.2 slot, however, shares bandwidth with the U.2 on here, and so what I was hoping to do is install the 950 as the OS, and then install a 750 drive, a U.2. This is the the SSD form factor, or it's actually a little bit physically a little bit bigger, and have the OS on and some apps on there, and then have the all of the data, games, and whatever on the 750 series drive. But since they share bandwidth, you can only do one or the other. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with just the 750. I'm going to make that both the boot and applications and data drive, since it's a 1.2 terabyte drive, and I'm going to save the 950 Pro for another build. Now, so I think I'm going to go ahead and use the 750 as both the boot, OS, applications, and data, since it's big enough. It's a 1.2 terabyte drive. So that is the plan, and I'll save this for another build. I've got a couple more systems to play with here soon, and anyway, that's the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the test bed, fire it up, make sure that it comes up and I don't have any problems with it, and I'm going to go ahead then and load up the OS and test it to make sure that this all works properly. I don't want to get it installed in the system and find out we got any issues. So that's what's going to come up next. Okay, so the Intel SSD and the SSD form factor comes with the drive, the Intel 750 series drive. This is the 1.2 terabyte version. Also comes with screws to mount it. All right, and it comes with a cable. There's a combination of power. You get your power from your SSD connector here, and then we also have the data, and then it has the adapter. I forget what the technical number of the adapter is, but this is the piece that plugs into the U.2 connector on your motherboard, or a U.2 adapter. So when I bought this drive through Newegg, they actually have an adapter. So certain motherboards, you would then connect this onto the M.2 connector, and it provides the connector here that you would be able to plug into. But luckily the Maximus 8 formula actually has it built in. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll connect it up, and then we'll load Windows 7 on it. I don't have a Windows 10 license, so I'm going to load Windows 7 and then upgrade so that I have Windows 10. It's what's going to be on the system. All right, so let's get it set up to be able to fire it up. All right, so here we have the connector, and we need power, SATA power. So I have here SATA power connector that I also use to power up the Corsair H100i. So here's my power, and now what I'm going to do is install that like you would any SSD, standard power connection. Let's make sure I have it oriented the right way. Yep. Okay. And then we have here the U.2 connection. So I'm going to try to plug it in right here. You slide it into the, it has a little key, so you can only put it in one way, and it locks right on there. There's a little tab. Then to remove it, you push down on the tab for the cable, and it removes. So, okay, we have it in here. Now we have the drive, and it has just has a very big connection here, and that connects into this interface adapter that that comes with the cable. So now the drive interfaces to that, and it also is keyed. So, and there's a little click that you can actually hear too. And although removal, I think it's straightforward. It's just a friction fit. You pull it back out. Okay. I'm just going to lay this drive down here for now. And I need to get a graphics card in the system and USB with Windows 7 on it to be able to fire this guy up. Okay, on the motherboard now we have the Strix Gaming 980 Ti. That's a beautiful board, really is. It's very pretty. So I have it connected up. We have the Intel connected up. Now what we're going to do is fire up, make sure everything's recognized in the BIOS. We should have that RAM. So let's see what we got going on there. So this RAM is 3200. So let's find the XMP. There we go. Now we're talking. We have the XMP profile loaded for these Trident RAM, and that's all good. Let's go see now if this thing recognizes it. Z70 drive, the 750. Okay, it sees the Intel. Sure does. Awesome. Alright, right now though we're going to boot off of this. But I need to check the latest BIOS. So let me go get the latest BIOS configured on here, and then we'll start loading Windows. Okay guys, so you are not watching an old Godzilla movie. I am not speaking a different language. I had some audio problems with this portion of the video. Actually, had my microphone turned off like a dummy. Anyway, bottom line is when I went to load Windows 7 onto the Intel series SSD, I ran into problems. I tried to load Windows using a USB stick and it wouldn't work. Anyway, make a long story short, I troubleshot it, figured out what the problem was, what I needed to do, and it was something that I thought was good enough to create a separate video for. So I'll put the link up here, and it's basically how to load Windows 7 on an Intel Series SSD on a Z170 motherboard, and that's what I ran through here. So anyway, got that done. Did not want to include that in this video. So long story short, I got the motherboard running, got the OS loaded, and tested out everything. The RAM, the processor works fine. I even overclocked the video cards together and ran some benchmarks. So everything seems to be just fine, and even ran some SSD checks. Now that we have all of the key parts tested, it's time to start fitting things into the case. So let's get this test bench off of here and get the case on the table and start planning the location of the pump. Make sure the power supply fits with clearance. So we're going to get into that right away. All right, what I want to do now then is a couple of things. One, the place that this pump is going to go is down in this area right here where this hard drive bracket is. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to mount the SSD on the back side of the case, or if there's a logical spot in the front that looks good, I'll definitely highlight and show it there. But I want to mount the pump there, but I got to have clearance between where the power supply and the cables come out. So I changed my mind. Instead of going with the 1200i, I went with a smaller form factor power supply, but still 80 plus gold rated, and it is supposed to be a good one. 850 watts should be plenty for running this system without any issues, and it is fully modular. So that's the plan. Let me go ahead and remove this bracket, install the power supply, and then the other thing we have going here is we want to, since I plan to put 2 cards in SLI if it'll work, I have the Lian-Li additional cable. So this is the same thing that you have here, except that one's a little bit longer. This one actually is nicely sleeved, protected, so but you won't see it. It's going to be mounted there, so I've got to work that in, see if that fits. And then finally we'll be working on the radiator and the fans up in the top. But first off, let me take this thing apart a little bit and be able to get in the power supply, and then see how we're going to route the pump and the reservoir setup. So I disassembled the case some, and we have a bracket here for mounting the power supply, and there's a couple of options. There's 3 different sets of mounting holes that you can use to mount the power supply. Obviously the one that it's at the top would give me most clearance for the reservoir, so I think I'm going to go with that. But one of the things that I thought I would do is, with the power supply, have it faced out so you see the silver tone logo. And what I found though is when you align this bracket on it, what happens is if you line it like this to be able to face it out, this part of the power connector here, this part of the power connector right here interferes with the bracket, so it would be off, it'd be hanging off a little bit. And it also doesn't align up as nicely with the other holes. So what that means is that the power supply would need to be mounted like this, and which is fine. It has the Silverstone logo on the back here, and all of the mounting points line up better on here. So I believe this is the way it was designed, but it would have been nice to be able to have it facing out. There is some room there, so there is some air that will come in, and to allow some ventilation to come in from the power supply there. And but anyway, that's where we stand right now, mounting it like this in the top portion of the case. So I'm going to go ahead and mount that, and we'll take a look at spaces for the reservoir and pump. Alright, so here we have the EK Res 140 Revo with the D5 pump already installed. It came factory installed in here. And this is the mounting bracket that comes with it. So this bracket you can spin around the bottom here, which is helpful because that way I can align the out port of the pump, and I won't be using the in. So you see where we have the power supply mounted here, and it looks like this guy is going to fit just right down here. And with the outlet oriented here, I'll be able to then feed the blocks on this side, and then have space. My plan is to be able to bring the inlet to the top of the pump. So that's really good. One of the things that's really nice is there's a slot down here. I think that's for power cables for the hard drives. And since I won't be using that, it's a perfect place to feed these cables through. And I probably will still sleeve this rainbow of colors here, but these guys will feed right through there. I'll have this mounted down here. This 140 reservoir actually is seems to be quite the right height. Now the one thing I do have to consider are the cables coming out of the power supply, and they'll either go out this way or down here. And actually, if I can find some a black material, might be able to create some kind of shroud that will cover them. So I might be able to mod that and cover up the hole that you'll see here, although actually the back panel is black, so you may not see it at all. And the cables are all going to be black too for the power supply. So we'll see what that looks like, but it looks like I won't have to do much as far as worrying about the pump, other than drilling some holes to mount it right here. Now I do have another bracket that allows me to mount this pump to the base, but I don't think I need to do that. I think it's going to be just fine mounting it right here. So yeah, so it looks good. By mounting the power supply up at the top portion, I do have as much space as I need for cables, so that's going to help. All right, so that looks good. Next up, let's see about adding the additional cable here for the PCI riser. So I have a second one that will need to be mounted down here, just like this one is, and then brought up through the back of the tray there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now the way this goes in, the motherboard will be installed here. So one will go to the top 16 slot, and then the second one, this one, hopefully will reach and go into the second slot on the motherboard. So hopefully this will make it. I think it might, but it might be tight. We'll see. Let me get that going. All right, guys, so let's get you up close and personal. We have the Silverstone power supply mounted. We have the additional ribbon cables mounted for the second PCI slot, and then mounted on the bracket here, and they should be the proper spacing if Lian-Li did their job right. So we're looking good there. I plan to mount the SSD right here in this spot, and then this is where the pump's going in. It's nice that the X-Res 140 comes with a decal for the mounting points, because trying to mark the holes through the mounting bracket was going to be a bitch. So I've got it set up here. I did trim out this bottom piece here so that I have space. My plan, see, this is the back bracket. I want the power cable to be fed right through there. So this is a little close. These holes are a little close to the edge, but the key is I would get these top two secured good, and I think these will fit in there too. I'm going to drill all 4 holes. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do now, so we can mount the pump, and then we're getting ready to rock and roll. I take the feet off, the base and the top, and we'll get to that later. So that's where we're at right now. Table's a working spot right now, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and mount this, and apologize for my voice. I am fighting a cold, but this therapy will help me heal. Yes. So first I'm going to drill some pilot holes, then the real hole. Now I did use an awl to mark the center point, so you should always do that to get as accurate a drilling spot as you can. Then of course I'm going to have to vacuum out all these splinter pieces. Alright, we have the bracket mounted. I'm going to put the pump in there, see if everything's okay. I did check it. It is just about level, although this bracket side is not on there, but we're looking. Right in the middle. All right, let's see about putting the pump and the reservoir in there, see what it looks like. See if I can do that amongst these cameras here. All right, let me get it tightened up and see what it looks like. All right, we're good. Before I do that, I'm going to have to sleeve these cables in black. Even though you're not going to see them, I still prefer these to be sleeved and press through the hole that I made for it underneath here. So I have to take it apart in order to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We'll get it sleeved and dressed out of the way. And then we'll get the reservoir fixed up. All right, let's get that done. All right, we have the reservoir and pump now mounted, and I braided the cables, or I sleeved the cables rather. So I have them coming out the bottom slot that was there, and connected up, all good, around with the other cables here. And then one of the things that we're going to do, we're going to add a SATA cable, of course, coming to this point right here for the back of the DVD drive. And then I'm going to mount the Intel SSD. This is just a mock-up using a different Intel SSD right here. So it'll be right out here in the front. Yeah, there'll be some piping, some tubing maybe that's going to come across it. And actually the graphics cards might cover up a little bit, but that's where I plan to mount it. And one of the things I realized, of course, I'm going to have cables coming through it. And I don't know if you've seen the ugly design they have from the U.2 SATA cables, if you will, coming from it. But let me get them and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so here we have the Intel 750 series SSD. It's going to be mounted right there. It has the same mounting points as this guy. All right, there's some Silverstone provides, Lian-Li provides these rubber grommets and screws that mount into those points. So the drive will be mounted, hanging off of here. Hopefully there's no interference with the graphics card. I'm going to have to check that. If not, then I'll mount that on the back and this will all move. But look at this. Look how ugly that is. I mean, they do put sleeving on it, and this comes from Intel, but that comes up and shows all this silver. Now, you know, if I was doing a silver and black, but I think I'm sticking with all black on there. But still, look at, and you got these multicolored, you know, rainbow color, and I hate that. So I gotta look to see if I can sleeve this to hide that. It's either that or, yeah, or they're gonna be, maybe, you know what, maybe I can hide them out of the way enough. I'll put some more black material or something, or a big heat shrink. I think that's what it's gonna have to be. Yeah, I think that's it. But anyway, isn't that, I mean, that's just, you know what, guys, you were starting to think right when you put the sleeving on, although you can see through it. It's shitty sleeving, but you could have, you know, but anyway, you did. You should have cut all the way up to the edge and covered this crap up. But anyway, that's just an opportunity for somebody at Phoenix or somebody, or, you know, Mod My Cables, to come up with a nice U.2 cable that's, you know, all molded together, maybe extends this so it's not hanging off like a little pigtail right out in front in some places. So anyway, it's an opportunity for improvement, or somebody to come up with a great design for these U.2 cables, because they're expensive actually. So that's an opportunity. Anyway, I think I'm going to try to put some sleeving on it. Heat shrink, big fat heat shrink, shrink it up and then hang it out of here. But first I'm going to see if there's an interference fit with the graphics card and the drive here, which I think there might be. So let me take a look. So as it turns out, this will interfere in the first slot. The SSD is just a little too fat to fit this graphics card up against it, and you can see it extends out past it, so you really won't see the SSD anyway. Another place, they have options for mounting it in the back here, right off of this plate. So I'm going to go ahead and mount it there, and that way I'll hide this ugly cable that they came up with for powering the 750. So that problem then will be solved, but it would have been nice to show that off in the front, but not going to happen. So here we have the graphics card mounted in the first slot, and you can see it comes right up against the wall with the back plate. So that's all good, and there's just about room for another GPU, and with the water block on there, that is going to be the saving grace to do an SLI here, because the cooler sticks out quite a bit. And I mean, it could fit another card, but with these fans, that would just starve this guy. So obviously not ideal for water cooled. This kind of case, if you're going to do air, is really good for one graphics card to show off. If you're going to do water cooled, like I said, I think with the space that the water block buys you, and obviously not needing to have fans bringing air in to cool the card, yeah, we'll see if that works. Anyway, that's the plan. So let's get to the next step, which would be just finishing the mounting of the SSD on the back, and then we got to look at mounting fans and radiators. All right, so now that we have the reservoir mounted, and I started planning some of the drain loop there, I have to order some parts. Next up is taking the stock fans out of the top and mounting in the Black Ice Nemesis 360 GTX along with these Thermaltake RGB ring fans. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to remove all the screws here. There's 12 screws holding these fans in. There's also a bracket that has a fan filter here. So let me see if I can show you this. So on the top of the unit, this was the top, right? And this is the front that you would see. So the fans would cool, and then there is right here, there's a nice fan filter you slide out and you can clean. And I believe it's accessible from, with the top on. So that's really nice, but the problem is that the housing for that adds about at least an inch. So I'm probably going to need that space to mount the radiator and fit in there. So we'll see. Let me take these parts out, and then we'll get the radiator lined up in here and the fans on here, and we'll see where it comes out, and we'll test fit it on the unit there and see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. Well, as you can see, that radiator comes right down through the top, so it's too thick. Now, I do have the mounting, the fan filter holder mounted to the radiator, and that is a little thick, but still, it's not enough. It's not an inch. It's not a fan's width. So I'm going to look at if I mount the radiator directly to the top without that bracket that holds this, then I'm going to have to drill holes in the top of the aluminum here to mount the radiator directly. So I got to figure out which way I'm going to go. Either going to get a half-height rad and a half-height rad that'll mount to that, and it'll allow me to mount it to that bracket and not have to drill holes, or I may break out the drill again and pop some holes in there. So let me take a look at the options that are available, and I'll be right back. All right, boys and girls, so with the Black Ice Nemesis radiator in here, we get to, that is about 54 mils as it is. We have only a few more to go, so probably about 56, 57, and with the fan, forget it, it will not fit. So what I'm going to do is go with a Black Ice, was a Nemesis L series radiator, and so that is about 29.6 mil plus this fan, get you 25 more. So you're right at about 55, 56, so right on the bleeding edge. So that's the combo we're going to go with. So right now I got to wait till the new rad shows up to continue this. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoy the build as it's coming so far. As typical, you always run into some things that you don't expect, and but the beauty of it is there's always a solution. And anyway, so we're coming through this. that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like and favorite. And if you're so inclined, please subscribe. That's it from Ron's and Up. Thanks for watching.